McMahon, you had mentioned 23andMe with all the banks of the DNA that's been collected. Would that be available to either Offutt or Hickman?
So if I'm understanding your question, my DNA database, would it be given to Offutt or Hawaii?
Could it be?
No, so we're partnered. And back in 1992, when the Secretary of Defense asked us to set up a DNA registry, it was for two things. One was the repository for all active duty, but because we already did the DNA testing for that Vietnam Unknown 91, we're mandated, and the medical exam, we're mandated to collect those family references, to run them and to put them into a secure database.
Okay.
Because we are a diagnostic laboratory in that sense for forensics. We fall within the medical jurisdiction, so we collected under an informed consent. That informed consent is protected by HIPAA, which prevents anyone outside of my agency for having that database. But there would be no reason to share the database with SIL or Offutt, because they send their DNA samples to us. They come to us, we work in the blind, knowing that it's from Korea or World War II, so that we have no cognitive bias of who it may be. So that when we do get that answer and we search our database, it is a bona fide, direct, unbiased association at that point. But we talk all the time.
Thank you very much.
That was a great question.
Thank you.
All right, we'll go online. Ash, go ahead.
Online question. Do we employ textile experts?
Say that again.
Do we employ textile experts?
Yeah.
So while we don't necessarily employ specifically textile experts, we do have specialists on staff that are familiar with U.S. equipment. And that includes uniforms and any like flight crew related stuff. And then also when we collect textiles from sites, that goes back to the laboratories, either in Offutt or Hawaii. And we have reference samples. We have uniforms that are historic, and then all of the military specifications for the construction of all those items. So we compare the materials that are coming from the field to known examples that we can identify, specifically textiles, footwear, any sorts of equipment.
I understand that the DPAA budget for this fiscal year increased by like $50 million from the previous year. Was it affected by the budget agreement between all of our governments yesterday? And what does it portend for the next fiscal year?
It was definitely affected by the budget discussions, but only affected in the way that it was late money, right? So ideally, the fiscal year starts in October. If we were have received our full budget at that time, we would have received the full 196. But when there is a late appropriation, we are only authorized to spend the amount of money we had the previous year. So we've been stuck at 150 million until now. And so now that the budget has been passed, the rest, the 46 million, will make it to us. And then for this year. And then we have regularly scheduled increases all the way up through 2028. So it was a 5-year appropriation or approval for us for our budget. So we're good for the next 5 years. Our biggest challenge is, getting the money on time. But the good news is, for next year, if there's an issue, we will start at 190 as opposed to starting at 150. So there's some good news, I guess. Some hope.
Any other questions? Raise your hand. Oh, wait, got a microphone coming to you.
This is for the gentleman that worked with the partners in the ocean. So can you use like the sonar or the imaging on lakes through sediment and stuff like that? Do you have that kind of imaging?
Definitely in lakes, underwater remote sensing can be used there. Sediment is tougher. We're experimenting with new types of technology that can use, for example, underwater remote sensing, magnetometer, underwater magnetometers, but it's tough when there's a lot of silt or if the wreckage has settled into the soil, that's tougher. Thank you. That was a great question.
Any other questions? That lady in the back?
This is the first family update that we've attended. Do you do these updates once a year or more often than that?
We do 4 updates per year, and we try to get in all the corners of the country. And then we also have a Vietnam War annual and a Korean Cold War annual during the summertime. Any other questions? Next question. Oh, right here. Well, wait for the microphone. Please.
I know that my uncle died on a particular ship and his remains are still unidentified. There have been 2 identified on the ship recently. And what's the odds of identifying the other 20 or so that are still missing?
So without going into specifics, if it was associated with a disinterment, like the USS Oklahoma or the West Virginia or those, there are a number of guidelines that the DPA has to meet to push forward a disinterment packet. One of that is if they're highly commingled, that we have to have a greater than a 60% chance of making identifications. Part of that is my tool, which is the DNA. I'm one aspect of the identification process. The other is having the IDPF file, the individual personnel, deceased personnel file that has stature, dental, and all that. So to answer your question, I will have to sit afterwards to talk specifically to you, but in cases of disinterments where we have the references and DNA is working, we are one tool. And then I think, Megan, if you can talk to more about once we give you results, because you are like with Palesti and how we're making those identifications, that may answer some of those questions there.
I think this would be a great one. I'll come over and talk to you right after this and get some specifics of the case because it really is going to be on a case by case basis. For example, if the ship that you're talking about, we are still actively pursuing it in the laboratory. And I know that there are still DNA samples being processed that can tell us really well about the odds of a potential future recovery if the case work is ongoing. If it's complete, that's a different story. So I think I'll come talk to you after this. Thank you.
Who's next? Okay.
This is our curiosity. When you do identify somebody, how do you notify the family?
The service casualty offices will notify the families. It's called the person authorized to direct disposition or primary next of kin. Each of the services, and you're registered through the service casualty offices, has people that go out and do briefings. So you will be contacted by your respective service casualty.
Either by
office.
mail or?
No, but
phone call?
they will call you within 48 hours. They're going to call the primary.
Okay, so
next
make
of
sure I
kin.
always answer my phone.
Yes, yes. They'll leave a message, I can assure you.
Yeah. Thank you.
You mentioned tours of the Offutt lab. Can you speak to how you set one of those up?
You went to the tour of Offutt.
I will come give you my card and we will set up the tour.
You can also go through your service casualty office and they'll reach out. Either method.
We also have another laboratory in Hawaii. So if you happen to be in Honolulu, Oahu, whether you're there on business or whether you're there with your family, you can just contact us and have a tour of that laboratory as well. Offutt is just as good, but if you happen to be in Hawaii, just wanted to offer that as well.
I have a question on the IDPFs. Are they only for people lost in combat or died in combat, or can they be for like a training mission, or if they're assigned stateside and were killed in action, you know, during a routine flight?
We have any historians with, I have, you want to go ahead, Ellen?
There are IDPFs for both. So obviously in the context of our work, we're more concerned with the overseas casualties, but even those who died in a training accident would often have an IDPF. There's even a few cases where we have civilian IDPFs if they were involved somehow with the war effort in a civilian status. So again, the military IDPFs for those overseas casualties, whether they're resolved or unresolved, that's our main bread and butter for kind of foundational research into individual casualties. But yeah, there can be training accidents and illness, you know, other means of death as well.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Any other questions? Okay, going once, going twice. All right. Thank you for your attention. We know you're busy and you could have spent your time other places. So before I introduce the PDD to, or not introduce, call her up to take us out, I just want to offer our thanks for you taking time. And we hope you walk away with a better appreciation of what we do, how we do it, and the fact that we're very passionate about our work. So thank you, and PDD.
Again, on behalf of all of us, thank you so much for being here today. And as this lady here said, if we call, answer your phone, please. If you get a piece of mail, open your mail, please. It was really a great opportunity to spend some time with you. I got to meet a few of you for the first time. We hope to see you at future FMUs, or if you're a Vietnam War family or Korea Cold War family, that you come to DC to those events. You can follow us online. Check out our website, www.dpaa.mil. That should be in your packet. But we're also on Facebook and Instagram and some other places. But no TikTok. You won't see us on TikTok. So that's all I have. You all enjoy the rest of your day. Travel safe. Thanks.